Three very closely related items are national spending, national borrowing, and national debt. We currently have more debt than we can hope to pay off in a generation in normal circumstances. Our continued borrowing is literally borrowing from our children, people who don't get a say about how we're spending their money. It's immoral, intergenerational debt. What will your government do immediately to solve that? Not wanting to make another 10-year budget, but in this term of government, in the next 3 years, what will have to be cut?
Well, I'm glad you've cloaked it in a moral context, because it is a moral obligation that we have to our children. But we want government to live within its means. That's the most important thing. I also believe that Australian taxpayers are paying too much in tax already. We can stimulate our economy, we can grow our economy, create jobs by empowering people to keep more of their own money. Now, one of the budgeting techniques that I think is really effective is that you go line by line item through the budget and you ask yourself the question, if we were starting again today, would we keep this line item in there? Is this expenditure still acting for the reason that we implemented in? Is it still achieving the results that we wanted? Now, a lot of the time, you find there's this, eternal life in budget measures. They just keep going because no one has the strength to get rid of them. We have to have that courage and strength. And secondly, if we're going to continue with that particular budget, we should expect some efficiency savings to be made in that space. And that says, well, okay, let's do this 10% cheaper. Let's make it more effective. You can do that by removing duplication. It's often said, the education system is run by the states, as it should be. But why do we have such a massive federal education department? What are we duplicating here? Is it just a matter of shuffling money around? Well, there's got to be a better way to do that. So we want to reduce bureaucracy. We want to empower people to make decisions for themselves so that government's not doing it. It is a cultural shift, but it's got to start with a budget shift.
Your opposition will make hay out of the cuts that you're proposing, cuts to public spending, cuts to public sector jobs, and as extreme as it needs to be, it's entirely likely that the opposition will simply offer the voters more money, the money that you're taking away from them perceptibly, just to win an election next time, and you may be a one-term government. Is there a way you can negotiate that risk, that voter intelligence, without risking actually giving away the opportunity to do more?
Well, Dave, I love talking as if I'm the Prime Minister, but the reality is, if it ever gets to a point where Australian Conservatives are forming government, it would be because things have got to a circumstance where people know there's got to be a better way of doing things. We've never hidden our light under a bushel. We're not pretending to be anything that we're not. We are saying that we need stronger families. How do you do that? That's they're the answers that we're going to.
So those criticisms from your opposition will be stating the obvious, because it was always declared
it's always
ambition.
There, and we know that more of the same is going to deliver more of the same results. And the results are bad. The results are bad. I mean, if you look at education, literacy and numeracy has been diminishing no matter how much money you throw at it. If you look at families, they're fragmenting. Society, civil society is fragmenting. We no longer have the service organisations and institutions available because people don't want to participate. It's become a very selfish society. If you look at taxation, we're taking more out of people's pockets, and then they're demanding more from the government. It's a catch-22. Governments are trying to regulate the electricity industry, and yet the only thing that it results in is greater costs for businesses, for families. Utilities are unsustainable. However you measure this, society has not benefited from the social experiments or the economic experiments of the last 10 years. So we've got to change something. Our critics will always say, no, this is wrong, it's terrible, we can just spend and tax more, but you cannot spend and tax your way to prosperity. It is simply impossible.